No, not during the recording. Oh, shoot. Okay, so this is Digital Media 2350. Where am I? What day is it? It's Digital Media 2350. It's been a long day. This is me doing the pen tool exercises that I'm enjoyed handing to students in order to torture them, as I am prone to do. And I'm going to do them and explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So hopefully it's helpful for you guys to watch me and be able to do these assignments on your own. So let's start with the box. This one should be pretty simple. I'll just click a point there, here. Holding down the Shift key to maintain that, and closing off the path. I think that one's pretty easy. I probably will only do it once, or maybe I'll do it twice. I'll do it twice here. It's pretty easy. This next one I will do by, okay, so I have a curve here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out a Bezier handle. How did I draw this line? I'm going to draw that up like so. And then I'm going to draw another point right here. I'm going to click and drag that point out. Actually, you know what? I think I just need to do it this way. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit to get that line a little better. And then I'm going to need a smooth point here. Click and drag that out using the spacebar key to move that point around just a little bit. Holding down the Shift key to make sure that that constrains to a 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to go to this point right here. And I can always fix that a little later. And then I'm going to go to this point right here, holding down the Shift key to constrain that to 45 degrees. And then I'm going to click and drag that out. Now this is an open shape, so I'm not going to have that problem of a closed shape. Now I can always go back. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool by holding down the Command key, selecting that anchor point. I'm going to drag out that handle. You almost always have to go back and edit your paths a little bit. All right, so now that we've done it once, we've kind of figured it out. I'm going to press the direct selection tool because I don't want to, right now, my cursor shows no asterisk sign. So I'm going to start drawing along. So if I click, it's going to start drawing that path out. I don't want that. So I'm going to press the Command key to bring up the direct selection tool. I'm going to just click anywhere off the shape to deselect it. I'm going to click and drag. And you probably, once you've done this once, it's going to be so much easier. Click and drag that out. Click and drag that out. Click and drag that out. So I got a little bit of a problem here in that it's kind of dragging that out. So I'm going to have to go back, grabbing my direct selection tool. Again, finish your paths before you edit them. And sometimes you won't see those handles. You just simply need to select that anchor point. It always tries to hide handles to make the view. It's actually a lot nicer that it does that, but you do have to select that anchor point sometimes of adjoining or joining anchor points, and just like that. If I using my direct selection tool, I can click and drag like this and select them all and go to object or select object direction handles. Oh, it didn't do it. I thought it would do it.
Yeah, you grabbed the wrong one. Actually, try it again.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Direction handles. Oh, there it is. Now all the direction handles will appear. That's one way of kind of seeing where all those handles are. Okay, I've done that twice. That one's one of the easier ones. Now this one, probably I kind of actually specifically made it to perplex you a little bit. Let me adjust the microphone. Oh, that's going to be really loud on the recording. I'm sorry about that. This actually can be done in 2 points, and this is an instance where you want to click and drag. Remember how I told you to always click and drag in the direction that you're going? This is actually one of the instances where you're going to want to click and drag in the opposite direction. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key I'm clicking and dragging and constraining that proportion there, like so. And I'm actually going to click and drag in the opposite direction to get that line to curve in like an S curve. So whenever you can kind of have the handles, and I'll grab my direct selection tool to kind of bring this guy back up. And bring that guy back up. Doesn't have to be perfect, close enough. Let's try that again, because as you do this, you will get better at it. Clicking and dragging that guy out. Unfortunately, that 1/3 rule hasn't really applied quite yet to these. Actually, it did apply to the previous one a little bit. Again, I'm using the Command key to bring up my direct selection tool to edit these paths. And one of the advantages to kind of going back and editing, and notice that I can extend this handle beyond. I'm no longer I am manipulating in terms of its angle, but not its length. Whereas when I'm clicking and dragging, I'm forced to do that. So sometimes you almost have to go back and edit a path later on. Using the Command key to bring up that path. This one doesn't have to be exact, just to get the general shape down. If you find this annoying, you can always go to the outline mode again, or you could, in this case, you could turn your fill to none. And there's a hotkey of /. Just one more time. I think, oops, I've started, what have I done? I've started editing the same path. I'm going to press Command-Z to undo that. And then I'm going to temporarily bring up my direct selection tool with the Command key, click off to the side anywhere, and start a new path. I could really just, if I get the curves just vaguely correct, I really... Okay, I think you guys can do it, know enough to do it the 5th time. The heart, let's go ahead and do the heart. I think this could be done with either 2 or 4 points, depending on... And if we did it with 2 points, we'd have 2 cusp points. If we did it with 4, we'd have 2 cusp points and 2 smooth points. So I'll click and drag, oops, starting a new point. Again, I need to deselect that old path, bringing up the selection tool, clicking. So I'll click and drag that out like so. And I'm vaguely going to guess here. I'm probably going to have to go back and fix this later, because this is a pretty odd shape here. So the first time I'm just going to do it with 2 points. And click and drag that out. So I have a cusp point here. What do I need to do? I need to hold down the Alt key. I haven't let go of the mouse, and it's going to allow me to break those handles and create a cusp point. The Alt key will always, in some form or another, create a cusp point. Or if you have a cusp point, it'll create a smooth point. And then I need to finish my path, close my path off. I can tell that because I have the circle icon. Remember, it's going to rather annoyingly make me redraw that. Of course, I have a very odd shape, so I'm going to have to go back and so right now it's created a smooth point. I know it's a smooth point because the handles are connected to one another. In order to break those handles, I'm going to have to hold down the Alt key and drag that guy back up to where that handle to where he was. And then I'll go ahead and with that tool, in this case you could actually use the direct selection tool, or the anchor tool will let you do it in this instance. And go ahead and just finish that path up. I'll go ahead and change my fill back to red by clicking right here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect, so there we go. Let's try it with 4 points. So I'll click and drag here. I'll probably pick somewhere roughly about here. Click and drag there. Again, I want these lines, in this case, the 1/3 rule is perfect. Remember, the 1/3 rule primarily applies to smooth points, getting those lines to look super smooth. And then I will create a point right here. It's kind of a weird point, but again, I vaguely want to follow that 1/3 rule. Holding down Alt because I have a cusp point to drag it out there. I have a fairly symmetrical shape, so I can kind of guess as to where it's going, where it should lie. And I need to create, another point here. So holding down the Shift key, judging about 1/3 for this curve right here. And what is it going to do? It's going to make me redraw this in the most annoying fashion possible. I need to make, now it's a smooth point, I need to make it a corner point. Actually, I think I just remembered something. If I hold down Alt, I just remembered something. Okay, so this is a cusp point. If I simply finish this path by clicking and dragging, it's going to convert it to a smooth point, what I don't want. So what I can do is hold down the Alt key in this instance and click and drag out. Voila. I have a smooth point. Now, whenever manipulating smooth points, or the handles for smooth points, you want to make sure that you use the direct selection tool. So if I'm going to manipulate this and adjust it in any way, because if I hold down Alt and try to do it this way, what is it going to do? It's going to create a cusp point. Even if I try to get this close, it's always going to look like it has like a weird, let me deselect it. It's always going to have a weird bump here no matter what I do. I'll press Command Z to undo that a few times, get that back to normal. I'm going to hold down the Command key to bring up my direct selection tool, click off to the side here, and there's my heart. And notice that our smooth points turned out pretty well. Actually, it kind of helped us quite a bit to have those smooth points. Let's move on to the Twitter. I'm going to find it pretty helpful to zoom in. I'm going to press Command plus to zoom in a few times. Pressing the spacebar key to temporarily bring up the hand tool. And you can pretty much start wherever you want to. One thing to note, whenever I close this path, I'm going to start thinking ahead. So whenever I close this path, I know that it's going to make me redraw. So I'm going to start with this point right here. What kind of point do I have? I have a cusp point. I'm not actually going to care about this part of the line. I'm just going to draw, because I know that when I close the path off, it's going to force me to redraw that. So I really don't care about that whatsoever. What do I have here? I have a semicircle. What did a circle compose of? It was 4 points. Well, in this case, I could probably do it in 3, right? I'll hold down the Shift key to kind of roughly a third, and then I'm planning on putting a point about here. We'll probably drag that out a little bit farther than I should have. Notice that it's kind of a bit more than a third here. I'm going to get a little annoyed at the fill here, so I'm going to press Command Y to go into that mode. I'll click and drag out a handle here. What do I have here? I have a cusp point. There's a little bit of a curve here. You don't really have to. I could remove this handle by just simply clicking the point, and that's going to remove that point here. So I still have a cusp point, but when I click this line right here, there's not going to be, it's going to just be a completely straight line. If I want to re-add that handle, all I need to do is click and drag out from that handle. There's a little bit of a curve here, so I'm going to allow that. Now, I'm very tempted to actually try to fix that, but remember, do not edit your paths while you're working on them. Finish them and then go back and edit them. It just saves you a ton of time. I've got a smooth point here, and I need to convert it, so I'm going to press the hold down the Alt key and drag that smooth point out. So I'll click and drag, I'm going to get a little bit faster now, clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key to break that point, clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key to break that point. I'm going to do that a lot here because these are all pretty much cusp points. I'm going to click and drag out here. Now this is really just an ellipse, so maybe 2 to 3 points. I could probably do it in 2 if I really wanted to, but let's make it easier on ourselves and just do it in 3. Clicking and dragging a point there like that. That's a smooth point because our line is essentially kind of going through it. It's not changing direction dramatically. Clicking and dragging out there, holding down the Alt key to get that. Now my curve is going the opposite direction, so it's kind of going in a downward motion. So I want my handle to fall below the line because remember it's going to kind of attract it in that direction. And I roughly want about a third of that curve. A third of that curve. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm getting good at this. Holding down the Alt key to create that cusp point. Clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key. There's a little bit of a curve here. I might be able to get away with a point like that. Tiny bit of a curve there. Clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key just like before. Clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key. Click and drag, hold down the Alt key. I want roughly about a third. Try to imagine it. And this line's coming out, so I want my handle to be on the outside here. Clicking and dragging. Of course, again, I have a cusp point. Could roughly make this about a third. Remember, I planned ahead, so this point, I'm going to hold down the Alt key to make sure I can maintain it as a cusp point, and click and drag that out like so. Let's press Command Y to kind of see our work. I'm pretty happy with that. You guys could be even less close than this, and I would be satisfied. So I'm more interested in you guys doing the work as opposed to being perfectly accurate about everything. I'll do it one more time until we move on to the Apple logo. I'll go a little bit faster here. Holding down the Alt key, of course, to bring down. And you can really see that when you get good with the pen tool, especially, shoot, I've already drawn this once, holding down the space bar to kind of get that point correct, you can get pretty fast. Probably have to go back and fix that guy. A third there. And you may find yourselves creating points where I'm not creating points. That's okay. If you feel that you need to do some of these curves in 3 points, that's fine. Holding down the space bar to temporarily move that around. Of course, I went fast, so I kind of made some more mistakes. About a third of this curve. That's probably too little, but holding down the Alt key to break that point. Clicking and dragging, holding down the Alt key. And again, holding down the Alt key to when I close this path will allow me to maintain that as a cusp point. Otherwise, it would, if I press Command Z and redo that, it might, depending on our shape, try to make that into a smooth point. I guess in this instance, I didn't need to, because I guess I broke it earlier. That's right, I remember now. When I first created this, I actually told it that I wanted this to be a cusp point by holding down the Alt key, but it doesn't hurt to hold down the Alt key in this case. Now I may want to come back and edit my path a little bit. I can just kind of shore up my path. You want to use the direct selection tool with this. Probably want to shrink this guy in because I really want about a third and a third to come out from this line. Of course, again, the direct selection tool is going to allow me to have handles or direction or control handles that go a little bit longer on one side and shorter on the other. Okay, let's do the Apple logo. Should be getting much better at this. I'll just go ahead and do it once just to try and keep the video pretty succinct. I'll go ahead and click. Now I have a single curve here. Just imagine a circle, and I'm going to go about a third out like that. Actually, I'm going to think ahead, and I need a cusp point here, so I'm going to drag out like that and then press the Alt key to break that handle. Dragging that out like so. Oops. I'm going to have to go back and fix that because, again, I want about a third and a third. Breaking that handle, holding down the space bar to get that just right. Got to be a little bit of a perfectionist. And holding down the Alt key just to be safe and dragging that handle out. I'm going to bring up my direct selection tool, pressing the Command key, and just shore up that path a tad bit. Okay, let's get on to the Apple. I know that I'm creating a new path, which is good, which is what I want. I'm going to go ahead and start with this guy right here. So I'm clicking in the direction that I want to go. So in this case, I'm going to go down, so I'm clicking in that direction. I've got a semicircle here, so I might be able to do this in 2 points. Let's just do it in 3. So about a third, maybe a little, oops, I kind of did a little bit more than a third. Let's go there. I'm just going to undo that. Pressing Command Z to undo. Clicking and dragging. I'll hold down the Shift key in this case to constrain it to a 45-degree angle. Got another cusp point, so I need to hold down the Alt key. Oops, zipped it on me. Now, definitely need a smooth point here. Where did we do this shape? We did it earlier, so we're going to be kind of copying that idea. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and space bar to kind of constrain that a little bit. Continuing to hold down the Shift key to maintain this handle at a 45-degree angle. Of course, I want one right here, just like we did that curve earlier, right? creating a point here. I'm probably going to have to come back and manipulate that point because that handle will likely need to be a little longer. I'm going to semicircle here. Again, you want to do it as few as many points as possible. Use as many as you need, but it's better to, and much faster, to just kind of do it that way. Now this looks like a cusp point, but it's not. It's very similar to that other weird shape that we created earlier. And I'll click and drag out like that. Holding down the space bar to just kind of get it correct. And then I'm going to hold down the Alt key just to be safe, because I can't remember if I already indicated that I want a cusp point or a smooth point here. And then that's looking pretty good. I might go ahead and press Command, and I'll click that line to sort of bring up that handle. Remember, it tries to hide those handles while I'm working on the path, which is actually pretty convenient. I might shorten this. You guys don't need to get it perfect. I just like to get it perfect. And of course, I need to change my fill to white instead of red because it's the Apple logo. And I'll press Command Y to bring that back up. It is filled with white. Of course, I didn't have my path up here selected, so I'll press the V key for my selection tool, click that path, double-clicking my fill, and selecting a color. Well, that's all I've got for you guys tonight. You can always rewatch this if you need more help. See you next time.